After more than 2 months of downing of tools, a sigh of relief has come the way for many Nigerians desiring medical attention, as resident doctors have now suspended their nationwide strike. Now, the resident doctors resolved to pick up their stethoscopes once again, but they want the industrial action will be resuscitated after 6 weeks if the government fails to address their grievances. Newly elected President Godiya Ishaya, at a news conference in Abuja, says the intervention of President Muhammadu Buhari as well as the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo and other notable personalities made the body to put the strike on hold, and that's how we begin the program this evening. BKO, it was a hard-fought battle after more than 2 months. So the National Association of these doctors are now, calling off their strike, but they say they will resume after 6 weeks if nothing is done. What do you make of this development?
Yes, I just hope that government will not go to sleep again after for 6 weeks, because this happened before. We had a situation in which these guys called off their suspended their strike in April. And we waited and waited and waited. We refused to address the issues that prompted them to go on strike in the first place. And they now decided to resume the strike. So government needs to move quickly and address those concerns. There was an emergency NMA delegate meeting that began from 12 noon on Saturday and ended around 10 p.m. So the NMA literally owned the strike, took things over, because when a little boy can't be negotiating for his parents, that's the way the NMA took the matter, because some of the issues that even the resident doctors were asking for, like the issue of hazard allowance, concerns every medical practitioner. It's not just resident doctors. They are the consultants, the very senior people. This also concerns them. So I think the lesson from this is that when the government is dealing with this kind of issue, you've got to get the NMA involved, because as we have seen now, the moment the NMA got involved in this, we had a respite. If the government had brought in the NMA as the parent body, they would have been able to achieve some form of unanimity, but they didn't do that on time. The resident doctors had their own emergency ESCO meeting last night, and there it was resolved that that they should resume on Wednesday. That's because it's possible that some people had traveled. So if they were told to resume today, it may be difficult. So that's why they gave that time, time to say, we are all coming back on Wednesday.
At your duty post.
Yes, because a lot of them will have left town.
Right. Before we continue the discussions on the strike being called off, by the resident doctors, let's hear from the union themselves.
NEC resolved by vote of a simple majority to suspend the total and indefinite strike action embarked upon on 2nd August 2021. Therefore, our members will resume full work on Wednesday, 6 October 2021.
The president of the union there, Godiya Ishaya, having listened to BKO Mayo, what's your position on how well the federal government fared in resolving these issues?
Yeah, I think it's a good development, but I'm just hopeful that the Minister for Labour will change his position, because his utterances and his negotiation skill does not show somebody that wants to solve a problem. You know, there was a time he was saying that we have enough doctors, and he doesn't say any reason why doctors will move to other climes. So he has to change. He has to change his sitting on a high horse style of dealing with the situation, because doctors, the medical sector is a very important sector that affects the lives of our people. So it's important for government to look at it in a very serious way. And I think that the 6 weeks that they've been given, if there is enough will from government, they should be able to have consensus on the issues that are being raised. But I can only be hopeful, because I don't really trust the man who is going to do most of the negotiation on behalf of government.
But even if you look at the gains, especially the losses during this more than 2-month-old strike, especially the capital, the human capital that the country has lost during this period, and other, losses, if you will, weigh the quantum of this kind of industrial action, can they be replaced? BQ?
No, it's really tough. It's a sector that has suffered neglect over the years. We are not talking about just inadequate medical personnel, but inadequate medical infrastructure across board in our country. There is supposed to be a general hospital in each of the 774 local governments we have in our country. By design, that was what was supposed to be on ground. But what do we have? Most of the local government, and overwhelming majority of the local governments, don't have general hospitals. They don't have general hospitals. At best, what you have are primary health centers. So and primary health centers are supposed to be in every political ward. We've not been able to deliver on that. Now we can't get our best doctors to remain here and work. In the past, they were not even targeting senior medical doctors. But as we saw in the last recruitment exercise at the Ladi Kwali Hall in Abuja, the people that they targeted were the very senior people, to the point that one of the applicants even said that the professor who handled her when she was in medical college was part of the people writing the exam. She too had become a senior person. Now the person who trained her was part of those who sat for that examination. So it's a massive shame. And our doctors excel abroad. Wherever they go, they excel. But we can't keep the best doctors here. We can't even attract enough doctors to work in rural areas. Everyone is coming to work in the tertiary health institutions, talking about national hospital, talking about teaching hospitals. Those teaching hospitals are supposed to be at the height of it.
Presidential Villa Hospital.
You go to UCH. There are no less than 1,000 doctors at UCH, no less than 700 doctors at LUT. They are supposed to work in other areas,
spread across.
But nobody is willing, because the incentive to make you stay in the rural areas is not there. Security is also a factor now. You go to Kogi and some states. I was in Kogi, and doctors were telling me that these days, when they are doing their ward rounds, they are backed with AK-47 carrying policemen.
Wow.
Just because people, they target doctors. Kidnappers target doctors. So doctors doing ward round, they go around on their ward rounds with AK-47 and AK-49 wielding policemen. So is that bad? So if things get to that point, how would we be able to take care of our people in the rural areas? People are not interested in working in the rural areas. So there are so many things that government has to do. You promised to pay increased hazard allowance that was last increased in 1991. You didn't fulfill your promise. You pushed them to start this strike. Now this strike has been postponed because people like the Sultan came in and said, see, I want to take over this negotiation. Leave it to me. Now it's up to the Sultan to make sure that the government listens and does what these doctors want, because his own honor is at stake. They decided to listen because people of that caliber got involved. So what will happen after 6 months if we still have the belligerent attitude of the current Minister of Health, who thinks it is by fighting words that he can resolve issues? No. You need somebody with persuasive skills. You need somebody who has a capacity to negotiate, not simply somebody who will be talking to them as if they are his school pupils.
All right, Vicky, and Mayor, we hope that the next 6 weeks will indeed, produce much more fruitful deliberations between the federal government and these doctors, much more than we have witnessed over the past months.